Welcome back. Welcome back to the Kovacs Report. It's time to take a look at this week's Bat books, and we are going to kick off with Batman, issue number 3. Yes, Matt Fraction and Jimenez on arts, doing a damn good job so far. We've had 2 really good issues. Can they make it 3 in a row? Well, we're going to find out in just a second. But before that, the usual disclaimers. I am going to go through it page by page, so there will be spoilers. Don't forget, read the book beforehand. If you don't want me to spoil it, like the video if you can, and definitely hit that subscribe button. It takes a second of your time, but it changes everything for me, and I really, really appreciate it. So let's get into it. Now, this is good. I'm going to say right out of the gate, this is a good book, but there are a few things that are starting to niggle me slightly, okay? Just ever so slightly, okay? And I think they need to address these few things before we get deeper into this arc. Let's start where we are with the story. So it's East Coventry, Monolith and Burns, somewhere in Gotham, and this chappie here, this young boy is interviewing his grandma, and they're talking about Gotham, okay? And she's saying that Gotham City, all it ever does is change. You see, the streets, the blocks, whole neighborhoods, they all change. The city, still the city. Buildings come, buildings go. Maybe people have changed the most. We're all on our own now. Seems like nobody helping nobody, except for you-know-who. And she makes a little bat ears symbol. So she's saying, you know, I've lived here forever. The city's constantly changing. It's no surprise anymore. People are people. Nothing really, really changes except for change. You know, she's kind of like, I think she's just got used to the way things are, you know, and it's like not a surprise anymore. I mean, you've got vigilantes flying through the air. You've got mass villains doing all their bad stuff too. It's just part and the parcel of living in Gotham. Anyway, while they're doing this little interview, they hear gunshots, okay, and we are transported back to last issue where we saw Robin trying to ferry Batman into the Batmobile because he was injured during their altercation with some robbers and the cops. Okay, so I like the fact this continues directly from that storyline, keeps everything together, even though that the sort of experiment with this arc, or maybe this whole run, is each issue is kind of a self-contained story, which is what we were told at the beginning. But this kind of breaks from that, actually. It's more of a continuation and leading into the next part. So not really sure about that. Anyway, he's videoing the whole thing. The dead cops are lying on the floor, although one is actually not dead just yet. Now, Randall Savage, he's like the new mayor, I take it, of Gotham or whatever. Well, he's in charge of everybody, including the police. And he is on a crusade. He does not like the Bat family, of course, because guess what? He's a villain. Now, we've seen him before in this kind of position before, so it's not very new. It's not very different, but it's still good, right? It's what you expect from a Batman book nowadays. Now, what he's doing is something really, really naughty. He is placing evidence at the scene to suggest that Batman was the cause of the death of one of these police officers, but in actual fact, he wasn't. As you can see, he's placing a little batarang there, then calling the investigator over so that the investigator can discover it, okay, because he wants things to change in the city. We're going to get to that. Now, jumping back to Randall Savage a bit later on, he's in the hospital visiting one of these injured cops. And he's kind of letting him know that he's going to have to toe the company line here. He's going to have to finger Batman. Not literally finger Batman. That was a bit of a bad phrasing. But he's going to have to say that it was Batman. He witnessed Batman, murder the other cop. But this cop doesn't want to do that. So Randall Savage grabs his oxygen tube and starts squashing it. So he is really, really, really not in the mood, right? He wants this cop to do what he says or else. Also visiting the hospital at that time is good old Bruce Wayne, because Tim Drake, Robin, was shot by police trying to escape earlier on too. So he's paying him a visit. Now, while he's there, we see Bernard. Now, Bernard is actually Tim Drake's boyfriend, because I think at some point in time one of the writers decided to make Tim Drake bi, and we haven't seen Bernard for a while actually, so they've reintroduced him here, and Bernard has concerns. He's not happy with Mr. Bruce Wayne. No, and he lets him know. He puts Bruce in a bit of a funny spot. He says, listen, isn't it really weird when you and Tim go off on your bro weekends, Tim always comes back beaten to hell? Now, I'm not sure if he's suggesting that he knows that maybe he's Batman and Robin, because I cannot remember this storyline with Bernard in it. So maybe he knows. Or is he suggesting that Bruce is actually an abusive father, and he's got his eye on him? I don't know. But it's more problems for Bruce. And Bernard is not happy. Now, jumping back to the TV, there is some kind of show going on. We have Hugo Strange here and a Dr. Zeller. Now, Dr. Zeller is a Well, she's got a new device that she has been developing, right? Which sort of addresses the dysfunction of electrical activity in the brain, okay? And this new device, the Crown of Storms, helps regulate the electricity in the brain. It calms overstimulation regions and excites understimulated ones. And along with some kind of, pharmaceutical, she believes this could be a great help in fixing people with sort of, mental issues. Now, Bruce is kind of impressed by her because she really holds her own under sort of questioning and a sort of verbal attack from old Hugo Strange here. And there's a sort of glint in his eye. So obviously, I think in the next few issues, we're going to see some kind of romance develop between the two of them. And then we're going to discover that there's more sinister plot behind her. And just like we had kind of in Detective Comics in the last couple of arcs ago. So again, we're getting some kind of repetitive storylines here. Now, is it good? Yes, it's still a great storyline, but I feel I've read this story before, which is one of the little gripes I have about issue 3 of Batman. Anyway, back to Brucey. He's doing a sparring training session with young Damian here. And we learn that Damian has been accepted into Gotham U 4 years early. He says, attending at your age would be an exceptional honor and challenge. Training with the League of Assassins taught you much, but there's a world out there for you to discover, Damian. And what he's trying to say to him is, listen, it's not just about combat, criminology, fighting crime, being like the most trained assassin. There's other things in life, like literature, history, poetry, and girls. That's right, girls. But Damian, he's not interested. He's very, very single-minded. He knows what his mission is, and he's going to stick with it. And then we see sort of Bruce get some sort of sage advice from Alfred, the ghost of Alfred in his mind. Now, originally, I thought this was like a hologram built into some kind of Bat-Tech AI, but I think it's just Bruce manifesting him. Sometimes we always look up and ask the question to the stars for an answer, and that's what Bruce is doing. So it's nice that he's keeping his memory alive. Now, jumping back to Jim Gordon, who's now been sort of demoted to a beat cop. He's sort of slapping the cement there, doing his thing, and he knows something's up. So what can he do? Well, not much. So he gives old Bullock, ex-detective Bullock, who's now a PI, a call and says, listen, we need to talk to Batman. We need the bat signal sent out. Now, normally that would mean a giant light on top of the GCPD building, but unfortunately that is no longer available to either of them. Okay, so he says, put the bat signal. They've got their own little bat signal to get Batsy because Bruce needs to know that the GCPD has declared open season on bats because Randall Savage is on the warpath. So he puts his bat signal out, which turns out to be a little bat plushie stuck to the window. Okay, jumping back to Wayne Enterprises, we learn that Brucey boy here, he's doing the good thing. Very Tony Stark. He doesn't want to invest in weapons or anything that's destructive. He only wants investments that are good for the world, good for Gotham. And he's willing to turn down a 240% government contract. He doesn't want to make weapons. He doesn't want to do anything bad. Of course, I guess this is going to lead to some kind of boardroom battle, later on in I don't know, future arcs, maybe. Again, it's a story that we've read many, many times before. Again, every single sort of little part of this story, I feel like we've had this story before, but it's still good. It's not bad in any way. I just feel that I'm not getting something new. What we also discover is good old Dr. Zeller, who we introduced earlier on, was enabled to make this prototype and do her sort of controversial sort of technological advance in mental health from a huge amount of money and investment from good old Wayne Enterprises, which I don't think he realized that there. So there we go. So it's all intertwining here. What's going on? Now, the bat signal has been answered, and Brucey boy has bat suited up, and he's meeting Bullock and Jim on the roof, and Jim's saying, listen, we have a problem. Savage is using the shootout last night to make some changes in GCPD policy and operation. He wants to leak to the press he has evidence that Batman is a cop killer. Okay, he's issued orders to shoot on sight, and he's also deputized a private mercenary squad to do the job. So we're again getting the same stories we usually get. The police, a special squad is after Bruce. He's no longer in favor with the cops. But it's still a good story, okay? But I keep seeing this repetition here. What's going on? Anyway, there's a little joke here about how Batman used to vanish into the shadows, how you're going to do it now, and Batman sort of distracts them, and he sort of vanishes like he does. And it's nice to have a little bit of humour sewn into this because, Batman is usually quite a dark world and a dark story, unlike this new Gotham, which is very, very bright, which leads me on to my next gripe. The art is absolutely gorgeous. I have no complaints at the quality and the beauty of the art. The new designs for the Batsuit, all the tech and gadgets that they're introducing every single issue is a nice touch too. The Gotham looks incredible. Everything is so bright and beautiful, and therein lies the problem. There's a little bit of a unbalanced view of Gotham here. It's so bright all the time. And with Batman, you know, the creature from the shadows striking fear, the shadowed face with, you know, one eye piercing through it. We're losing some of that because Gotham is so bright. And I hope they address this early on, because if it carries on like this, it's going to lose that little bit of an appeal. And the art, again, is stunning, but the atmosphere is changing, but it's not giving us that little part of Batman that you always need, that little thing. There's some things you can't change, I think. Again, you know, Batman is a creature of the night. Everything is so bright. Anyway, back at Harborview, Wayne Experimental Sciences Building, and we see a very, very messed up Riddler here walking with a golf club after he's battered these two security guards and I guess broken in. He's after the device. Now, I think this device is this Crown of Storms that we mentioned earlier. And he's really messed up because he's just riddle after riddle after riddle after riddle. His brain seems very overstimulated, which is exactly what this device does, right? Unless this is some other device that they need for that technology. It's not very clear. But we do get some new tech from Batman, and they do this every single issue. And it's a bit of fun, right? I mean, Batman would have the latest gadgets, and we're introduced to this new stealth suit, which is light-bending, noise-dampening, Titan graphene weave, which is part of the material that I think was also supplied to Dr. Zeller. So we get that cool Batman's very clever thing because he answers all of the riddles straight off the bat, you know, because Batman's fast-thinking detective. He knows his stuff, but he's worried. He doesn't understand why Enigma's doing what he's doing. He says, you were really keeping it together there for a while, Edward. CEO of Enigmatech, so rich you could buy your way out of any trouble. Top of the world. What happened? You know, why has he reverted to being a criminal again? And he attacks because, remember, this is a sort of messed up Riddler. He's not thinking straight. His brain is overstimulated, and obviously that's a lead to the fact that this device has probably been used on him. Nefarious deeds indeed. So he says, please, Edward, stop this. And Batman tries to convince him to stop, but he doesn't. He just keeps on attacking relentlessly, riddling his way through the whole thing. Eventually, Batman subdues him with some seditax. Yes, some fast-acting sedative, anti-psychotic bat drug that he's got from his bat bout and his new tech. And I do, again, I've got to say again, I love that they've introduced all this tech and all these gadgets, because that was a big part of Batman, you know, and we kind of like don't see enough of it anymore, I think. So I really, really like that. Anyway, good old Riddler, he is out. He is out for the count. We jump back to Lower Gotham, where we see that young lad from earlier on, okay, who was videoing the shootout with the police the night before. Now, he's going to see another member of his block where he lives to ask some advice. And we find out that he works for a newspaper, so I'm assuming this young lad's going to be put in jeopardy because he has evidence to show that, you know, Randall Savage is doctoring the scene and putting Batman in a bad light. So we've got a story brewing there. Very, very interesting. Now, that happens before we jump back to good old Bats in his new Batmobile, which looks really, really cool. Edward's in the back. He's sort of coming to again. He's riddling, and he's trying to communicate. What we realize is he's actually trying to help Batman, give him a clue, but because his brain is so overstimulated, he can't just say it plainly. So we get another clue. What he says is, when ain't K haram? So, you know, Batsy goes through this sort of thinking out loud, says, ain't calls attention to itself. K, 1,000. Haram, forbidden. Could be gibberish. And then his sort of ghost spectral form, little sort of, you know, angel on his shoulder. Good old Pennyworth here says, you know, haram has a secular usage set aside. It's an anagram, Master Bruce, with a double negative twist. So when is K part of haram? We'll put it all together and it spells Arkham. So he says, I believe the Riddler was telling you that your Dr. Zeller has been using her experimental device on the patients in Arkham. And there ends the issue. Again, very, very good. It's kind of nicely paced. We've got an interesting story. We've got this new device. We've got classic villains that we absolutely love to see. Okay, and we've got beautiful art, absolutely beautiful art. But it just feels samey. And this is what I feel. I don't want this to become another samey book. It feels slightly dumbed down to some extent, right? Now, I know you can't have the same thing forever, and I fully appreciate that, and I'm not asking for that. Am I a Batman purist? Not really. I love all types of Batman stories. Do I have my favourites? Yes. Are they usually the more darker tales? Absolutely. But it doesn't mean I'm not open to these stories. I'm really enjoying this run. In fact, the previous Batman mainline book was terrible. Let's not make any sort of excuse for it. It was terrible. This is miles and miles better, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I just very fearful that it's going to just go down that road and turn into just another nothing burger. Now, again, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. What I am saying is that I hope that they address these gripes early on, because we are on the precipice of a really, really good Batman run, and we haven't had one in the mainline Batman book for a long time. So I really love the book. I love the art. I love the writing. I love how the characters are sort of weaved into the story, and their dialogue's fluid. I love it all. There's nothing really bad to say about it. I just want the story to sort of just become a little bit different from what we had before. I'd like to have a little balance between the light and the dark in Gotham. I mean, that itself is a story, you know, and I'm worried that it's not going to go that way. But all in all, fantastic book. Thumbs up. Looking forward to issue 4. Again, I'm sure we can predict a few things. Young Boy's going to be in trouble because he has evidence. Dr. Zetta's going to become a love interest, which turns out to maybe be a villain, maybe be used by another sort of more nefarious puppeteer. Who knows? But we're gonna find out. So there we go. Those are my thoughts. Do let me know yours in the comments. I'm always interested to hear what you guys think. But until next time, don't forget to like the video, and please do subscribe. It would mean the world to me, and I thank you in advance. So take care. Read more comics. We'll see you in the next one.